Hey, it's Barça here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about what the world would have looked like right now if Pedri had never joined Barcelona. Back in Las Palmas he was one of the most exciting talents in Spain already, and at Barcelona he became a starting 11 player very quickly, and now we've reached the point where he has become one of our very best players. But sometimes we never really realize how valuable he actually is. In this video you'll see what things might have looked like if we didn't have him, so make sure to stay tuned as it's going to be very interesting. So, in the first season Pedri played at Barcelona, the midfield typically looked like this. Busquets as defensive midfielder and then Frenkie de Jong and Pedri in front of him. The other options were Riqui Puig, Miralem Pjanic, Sergi Roberto and also Ilaix Moriba. So as you see, Barca coach Ronald Koeman didn't have too much options, which is why Pedri played an incredible number of minutes in his first season. But as this is the point of the video, what if Pedri wasn't there? Well, maybe there would have been a different signing that summer to have the same number of options, but looking at Barca's financial situation back then and considering how unique of a talent Pedri is, whoever that player was probably wouldn't have had the impact that Pedri had. And consequently, Ronald Koeman would have been forced to give more minutes to the likes of Riqui Puig and Pjanic. Both those players didn't have great relationships with Koeman though, so they probably still wouldn't have gotten too much minutes. And in that case, Ronald Koeman would have probably given a lot of minutes to La Masia talents like Ilaix Moriba. And someone like Ilaix or Puig would have gotten more minutes, but overall Barca's midfield would have been worse. That was only in the 2020-2021 season though. Next season, in reality, Pedri spent quite an amount of time on the sidelines with injuries. He had two big ones that kept him each out for more than a month. And with players like Gavi and Nico Gonzalez who had broken through, Barcelona would have had enough depth in midfield that season. But quality-wise, Pedri had improved in reality, and he had basically become Barcelona's best player when he was fit. In quite a lot of games that season he made the difference scoring-wise, but he also mastered the midfield and he had everything under control all the time. Nobody could snatch the ball off him and he never really made a bad decision. So without that player, Barcelona would have had a more difficult season, undoubtedly. Cause neither Frenkie de Jong, Gavi or Busquets were on the same level. And consequently, I don't know if Barca had finished second in La Liga that season, they might have come third or fourth. And apart from that, Barcelona's midfield would have been seen as a weak area that had to be improved, and they would have needed a great controlling midfielder to make the midfield able of being dominant again. In other words, in the summer of 2022 there would have been another player on the long list of players that had to be signed. In reality, the midfield area was the one that needed the least strengthening. Only Cassia was signed and thus far this season he hasn't even been that involved. The board were able to fully focus on attack and defense because the midfield was good already. And one player was the real reason for that: Pedri. If he had never joined the Blaugrana, our midfield would have been a big problem and we would have had to look for the right players just to have a midfield worthy of the Barcelona first team again. In reality, Barcelona's midfield duo is world class right now. You can't tell me otherwise with the amount of games that Gavi and Pedri have dominated their opposition for the full 90 minutes. And I would say it's not really an area that needs strengthening, but then I'm not talking about the defensive midfield role. And even after a couple of bad games, you shouldn't forget that Pedri is one of the best midfielders in the world. So the big point is that because of Pedri, we've basically got one of the best midfields in the world again on paper. And without him we would have had a promising player like Gavi, but we would have lacked a controlling midfielder that played in a very mature way and had the ability to dictate the game. We would have needed to search for such a player in the market and maybe we would have found one, but we never know if that player would have been able to adapt to Barcelona. So believe me when I say that having Pedri is really valuable, and you realize that once you think about what things would have looked like if he had never joined Barca. This guy is not even 20 years old yet, wasn't brought up in La Masia, quickly fitted in perfectly at Barcelona and is easily one of the best midfielders in the world right now. There is literally no better player to have. Surely during the dark period that Barca are in at the moment of making this video, we shouldn't forget that. And maybe some midfielders lack consistency sometimes and Busquets is indeed becoming too old, but apart from that we do really have a great midfield. And Pedri is the #1 reason for that. That was it for today's video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it and feel free to share your own opinion on Pedri in the comments down below. Força Barça and have a good day.